this isn't fun building the whole, but like if we're gonna start a business together, it should probably be with something that's like data and analytics and not like building an indoor cut concept that none of us know really how to do.
Welcome to Talk Tuesday, a webinar series where we explore what it takes to kickstart new projects, launch new products, and create the right conditions for team success. I'm Eric Gorman, founder of Wiley, an agency that helps teams innovate faster with less risk through our sprint workshops and training. We help teams get aligned, eliminate unproductive meetings, and make rapid progress using our interactive, repeatable sprint workshops. Skill up with our training at wearewiley.com. And now to our guest. It's now my great pleasure to introduce my special guest and friend, Austin Shrum, co-founder and head of growth for A2 Analytics. Welcome, Austin.
Hey, Eric, good to be here with you, man.
Good to be with you, man. Yeah. It's a really good time. So you and I have known each other for several years now.
Yes.
I think maybe since 2017-ish, something.
Early Wiley days.
Yeah. So you actually, in those early days, helped Wiley come up with a financial model for our very first design sprint boot camp.
Yep, that was a lot of fun.
That was amazing. It was so kind of you to help out and bring some sanity to the chaos of pulling off a big event.
I remember the first meeting that we had where Varian was like, you two need to meet. And we both sat down and we weren't sure who was supposed to help you. You remember that? Yeah. It was like, hey, I'm here, what can I do? What can I do? We did that.
We figured it out. It's like your first awkward date.
Yes. Okay, yeah, we can do something like that. Thank you.
So Varian the matchmaker.
Oh.
So yeah, you helped me out with that.
Yep.
You and part of your team with AvidXchange at the time where you worked at the time.
Yep.
Came into that designs for boot camp, which was awesome.
Very cool.
And then since then, we just kind of kept in touch. But so I get a test from firsthand experience. You're funny, you're genuine, you're a super smarty pants, even though you're very humble about it. And you're very generous with your time. And so it's just a treat to have you here.
It's great to be here, and I can say all the same thing about you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that too. Well, so talk to us a little bit about yourself. Where are we from? How long have you been?
Yeah, we had that in the first date that we had. Yeah. I don't think we got to the backstory. So,
I don't think so.
Originally, I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas, oldest of 4 kids, and ended up in North Carolina through college, went to Wake Forest, met my wife there, and ended up going to grad school at Virginia, studying marketing and analytics. Then ended up in Charlotte. The job I got out of grad school was at Red Ventures, which was, this was 2013. So a few hundred people at the company then. Obviously now it's several $1,000s and one of the leading internet, or several thousand people and one of the leading internet companies in the world. So thought I was going to be in Charlotte for a couple years at Red Ventures, and we kind of fell in love with Charlotte, and it's been 10 years now. I've been mainly in data and tech, but recently started down the entrepreneurial journey with A2 Analytics.
We're going to get into that.
Yep.
I do have to ask, you mentioned Varian, so for those of you that have been watching the Talk Tuesdays, we interviewed Varian. What's it like living in the shadow of such a crazy person? It's funny because it's true, right?
Yes.
And she's incredible. I just feel seriously, she's amazing. That was like that.
It's awesome.
Partner.
We started dating when we were 19.
Wow.
So we were sophomores in college, and Vera and I were both the 2 people that never slept. So our early dating conversations were walking around campus at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I think we've always just been high energy, and that's just all I've ever known about Vera. So I'm definitely not surprised of being here at Camp North End and seeing how far this project has come, and then obviously it's amazing having her as a teammate. So it's never surprised by anything Varian does, and she's amazing, and it's cool to be with her every day.
Well, watch that interview. Check that out with Varian, King Manger at Camp North End, if you haven't already. So tell us a little bit more about maybe your professional journey. You touched on Red Ventures, but I think there's some other chapters in there that I'd love for you to touch on maybe.
Yeah, I was liberal arts guy, kind of through and through, was political science major in undergrad, which was awesome. And thought I went to UVA for grad school, thought I was going to be in DC doing something in policy. Fell in love with kind of data and analytics, surprisingly, kind of last semester in grad school, and was not something that I thought I was going to spend a career doing. And kind of my thought was, I was just trying to follow the energy of, wow, there's amazing things that you can do with data. This feels new to me. Feels like I would enjoy spending several years trying to get really good at this. So I ended up taking a job at the most quantitative company I think I interviewed with, Red Ventures, which has a very well-earned reputation for data, everything, tracking everything online, optimizing sales for giant brands online. So basically said, I want to have that to be like the core of my professional skill set. So I really was very uncomfortable probably my first 2 or 3 years of my career in the analyst program at Red Ventures, learning a ton of technical skills, learning a ton of business skills. Red Ventures is a place that they kind of give you a lot of control very early in your career. So as a 22, 23-year-old analyst, they'll give you a $10 million sales operation and say, you control volume, you control the compensation plans, you control all these different elements, kind of be a GM and go grow this business. So for someone early in their career, I think Red Ventures was a fantastic place to get a ton of exposure and be at a place where people empower you to take a ton of risk. And you learn very quickly there. So I was there for 5 years, did digital marketing, did sales operations. I was the only cross-sell analyst at the building for one time. So just like, a lot of crazy kind of assignments there. Met Ali, my co-founder at Red Ventures. We were both in the trenches together, analysts back in the day at Red Ventures. And then I went to AvidXchange. This was in our journey in Charlotte. I'd been there for 5 years. Varian was getting really into the urban planning world, got this role at Camp North End. So we kind of renegotiated our outlook on Charlotte. And part of that was different company for me. So I was at AvidXchange, which was similarly, this was before they IPO'd. They also had 500 or 600 people. When I started working there, they had just figured out AvidPay. And even though they were a 15-year-old company, they were effectively like a 3-year-old company when it came to the scale and growth that they were undergoing. So had an awesome run at Avid for 5 years. It was a mix of like analytics, business planning. I was chief of staff for a year with Heather, who we worked with, kind of like running operations for a lot of post-sale customer groups, learning fintech, learning B2B SaaS, which was what A2 Analytics is now. And really just seeing what it takes for a company to grow from a few hundred people. We just had closed the big Bain Capital round and went public in 2022. So kind of seeing a venture-backed company go public and everything that happens behind the scenes to get ready for an event like that, data, the performance of the business, how customers are doing. So I feel like I had 2 really cool 5-year experiences in Charlotte. And then had another short stint at kind of a Red Venture spinoff for 18 months doing sales and partnerships before starting A2 Analytics. So I think that was like 10 years goes by freakishly fast, but a lot of it was how you're using data to identify opportunities, to grow a business, and then spend a lot of time on the customer side at AvidXchange. So how you treat customers well, how you set them up for future success. So a lot of those pieces, I feel like, and meeting great people along the way, like Ali with A2, it's kind of like, I think all those lessons are getting baked into the loaf of bread here at A2 Analytics, and trying to pull from the best of all those experiences into the startup.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it sounds like it's like intersection of business, the technical lens, and then also the customer side.
Yes.
You've been delving into those spaces.
A lot of dog years in each of those spaces over the last 10 years. So we're excited about what we're doing at A2, and we are pulling from those experiences every day.
So let's go into A2. Talk to me about the kind of origin story. Yeah, just you take it from there.
A2, so this was earlier this year. I've recently been laid off in January. My co-founder, Ali, resigned from his role at AvidXchange, and I was kind of like testing the waters a little bit in the job market. I met with you, we were just networking around, and I kind of had this feeling and I had this feeling before I took my last role, like I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, was interested in that. It didn't feel like it was gonna ever get easier to do something. I have a little 2.5-year-old, like as families grow, nothing gets easier. So it was kind of like, it felt like an opportunity to explore something entrepreneurial. Ali is one of the most talented people I've worked with in my entire career in terms of technical ability, but also business acumen and just speed. He reminds me of you a lot. Just like people, I love working with doers that love to just dive in, figure things out, super creative. Ali is definitely like that. So we found each other in late January, February, and he was actually building a weather app at the time. So he had, his whole setup, crazy data streams coming in, really slick app that he was building. But he was like, yeah, man, like we've been talking for years about doing something together. Like, do you have an idea? Actually, this was, I don't know if I told you about this, but this in late 2019, when we were both at AvidXchange, Ali and I, we got the itch to like start a business together. We both love golf. So we went to Lowe's and got like the craziest assortment of supplies. Went into my garage and we built this prototype golf hole called the Devil's Backbone. We were like pouring concrete, we were hammering nails, like it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And the hole was pretty sweet, and we were like, looking at space, and we were like, hey, we could have an installation and all this stuff. And finally, this was like in February, I looked at Ali and I was like, Ali, like, this isn't fun building the hole, but like, if we're gonna start a business together, it should probably be with something that's like data and analytics and not like building an indoor concept that none of us know really how to do. And then, so we like pulled the plug on that idea in February, and then COVID hit in March.
Oh wow.
So
that's a good call.
if we had that's like probably the wisest, thing that we didn't do that we could have never done.
I love that.
And so we found each other again in February of this year. We were like, let's do something data focused. Like we know how to grow businesses, work great with data. Let's find a niche that we think these skills can add a lot of value to. And kind of like I worked with you here at Camp North End, worked with Chandler a lot at Hex. So there's been kind of these projects at camp. I've also worked with some folks on the development team at Co over the years. And there was one problem.
Parent company
of Camp North End, the development team the woman who does like performance reporting for Camp North End. She had been doing it every week for the development team. It was kind of one of their favorite reports just to know how are events impacting, foot traffic, sales, kind of all these things that give you the picture of health for the property. And I got in touch with her about a year ago because that project for her had started out as like a simple hour-a-week exercise. So there's a few tenants here at Camp North End. When now there's 30, 40 plus tenants at Camp North End. That weekly exercise was taking her like 12, 15 hours. Gotcha. And it was kind of becoming a runaway IT project. And I'd known that they had, she had been working on it. They tried to hire a few consultants. Things hadn't really panned out the way that they had hoped. And it was a data problem. It had to do with reporting and growth. So it had kind of been in the back of my mind. And in March, Ali and I met with the camp team and we said, if this is still a problem for you guys, we can definitely build you a great product that can solve this problem. And they were like, okay, go for it. Let's see what you guys can do. So that was kind of the like moment of let's kind of explore this.
Yeah.
And over the next, I think the unusual thing that we found was like, we could bring all these data points together, and it wasn't just how is performance at a commercial real estate property, but we could tell you what's working, what tenants are figuring out, things that are helping them grow that could be beneficial to the other tenants, how are events impacting growth at the property. So kind of all of the things that Ali and I had been accustomed to at places like Red Ventures, where you're looking at data to find those hidden insights that can help something grow. We kind of stumbled across that as we were building out the product. Is like, this data is incredibly powerful and really hard for commercial real estate developers to get to. If we could turn this into a product, we think, especially coming out of COVID, right? Like commercial real estate properties had been, most of them took a big hit during COVID. Places like camp we're lucky because it was outdoor, but retail in general has been bouncing back. So I think our pitch to real estate companies is, you're coming out of COVID, retail is starting to pick up. Let us accelerate that for you through data and analytics. And we want to help the development team and the tenants get back to where they wanted to be before the pandemic. And we think the data can help accelerate that for you. So built the product out with Camp, and then been fortunate to use that case study to start talking to other developments across the country about kind of this insights platform for helping commercial real estate companies grow.
Can you speak more to a platform like at a high level at least, or divulge to you, or be able to, or don't give away all the special sauce, but like what does it do? How does it work? How do people use and get value?
We've got a couple products. The initial product for A2 is an insights platform for sales, basically. So we've got about 12 businesses here at Camp North End that share sales data with our platform. So we've got streaming sales data coming back from the businesses. That helps them, they have to report sales once a month. That's a painful process for them. We're helping automate that. And then also we're combining that sales data with weather, which is a huge variable, with events. Camp North End is super unique in commercial real estate, given the number of events, not only run by the development company, but tenant-led events. Tenants run a lot of events themselves here. Last year, I think they did over 400 events at Camp North End, which is crazy amount of activation, which from my lens, from a data standpoint, I think of it as two ways. One, I think of that as paid traffic, right? Like these are events that these properties are investing in order to bring people out and enhance the brand of the property. So in digital, right, paid traffic, you really want to know what's working and what's not working. Mm-hmm. So we can do that same thing in the physical world with commercial real estate companies by looking at, when you run an event, how much traffic is that generating? Then how much sales is that generating for the tenants? Is that helping these tenants be more successful here? And then also being able to identify which tenants benefit a lot from events and which tenants maybe can lean in more, as ways that we just want to help create this environment between the development teams and small businesses that make up the properties, which are, I think at a place like Camp, that's the heart and soul of the development, is the small businesses that are here, that are activating every day and being part of the community here at Camp North End. So we want to see all of them be successful by knowing what's working and then being able to do more of that. So there's a lot of magic going on behind the scenes to make sure the data pull in automatically, but being able to connect all those insights together and tell businesses, hey, these 4 things are working really well for you. These 3 things are not really helping. Like, do more of the good things, and also giving those insights to the development teams. When both of those things start working together, you can really accelerate progress and growth.
Flywheel effect.
Total flywheel, yeah.
I think I would divulge any secrets, but you'd send me a sales deck early, this month, I'm sure it's evolved, but nevertheless, like some of the insights that were in there were super specific. I was really kind of taken back. I'm like, that's practical advice that you can go and apply that, right? It was like, do more of this activity.
Yep.
Like do brunch on Sundays.
Yes.
Because that's really hot right now.
Yeah.
Like it was that specific in detail, but
and I think that's kind of the online business world cross-pollinating with commercial real estate. Like in the digital world, when you're running a website, for example, like every one of those little things matters, and the speed that you can execute on those matters. I think that's another value prop, that comparing kind of the digital world with commercial real estate world, just the speed of the data that comes in, like for commercial real estate properties, I think the baseline is maybe you're getting data back once a month. Sometimes it's once a quarter, sometimes it's once every 6 months, and it's in a one lumped number. Compared to online, you're getting data back every minute of every hour. And so every day there can be an interesting insight for an action that you can take to improve your business. And really it's just a total function of the speed of the data that's moving through there. So that was another huge insight for A2, was we can bring the speed of kind of the online world to these commercial real estate properties and bring insights every day. That's how fast our data model refreshes. So instead of waiting a month to be able to look back and say, did this work? You can know the next day what kind of impact an event had or the weather had. Each one of those things can kind of update the mental model of the developer or the tenant on how do I be more successful here, where my business is, and get 10% better every month, 1% better a day. Those things, like the compounding effects, really add up over time. I saw that personally running online businesses where that's how we got double, triple the size of some of these websites that we ran, was little small things every day. So that's the lived experience, and that's why we're super excited about this space, is we think the speed of the data is something that's new here. But if we can be good partners with these properties and help them take action on those things, it can really accelerate over time.
So you've got a great product. You're starting to validate that in the marketplace, getting, I assume, good feedback, positive reception. How are you doing in terms of like that next pivot moment, which is like getting those additional sales to fuel the business and put food on the table? Like you got probably not an infinite number, like most people in the world, right? So what's that process like, and what kind of traction are you getting?
I think it's we're very blessed with Ali, who is the technical co-founder, can build things incredibly fast. His iteration cycles, plus with the AI tools that are out today, I'm sure you experience this in your business as well. Ali and I say that we couldn't do this business 3 years ago with the same amount of people we have, not having to raise money. It really, like, we always say that this is probably the best time to be building a business, even though, the macro economy is not what it was a few years ago in terms of the high interest rates. And if you want to raise money, it's much harder to do that than it was 3 or 4 years ago. But in terms of the tech that you can build a business on, it's a great time to be starting a technology company. So we've got this beta customer here at camp, flew out to Oregon a few weeks ago. So we haven't closed the deal with them yet, but we're well through our discovery, met other tenants, scoping out what their deal looks like.
Campus type of.
It's similar commercial real estate, mixed use, indoor, outdoor.
Gotcha.
That location is a little bit bigger in terms of number of tenants, and it's also, I think, a few decades old now. So, but it's beautiful flagship property, kind of like in Northland. So I think we've got a good sense of who our profile is, what customer we're going after. We also don't know if we have product market fit yet. It's been very iterative with the folks at camp, and then also every development team that we talk to, there's kind of an element of, hey, we like the core of your product and we have this problem, could you help us with this too? So I don't know if this is best practice or not, but almost every group that we've been talking with, we're like, okay, yes, we'll deliver this core platform, and we'll include custom development work for you to we gotta be scrappy. And I think we kind of came to the problem brought us to camp, and has helped us initiate with these other early adopter customers that we're talking with. But we think the customers will lead us to the pain, right? They'll tell us the thing that they're really struggling with. We feel confident that we can help tweak or pivot our product to meet their pain. And then I think our goal is for the first 5 or 10 folks we work with, we'll do custom work for you. And then if in those next wave of conversations that we have with their referrals, if they're saying, hey, the real problem I need you to solve is this, then will be our signal to potentially pivot to real product market fit, real customer pain, potentially a bigger market than what we have for this current product right now. So I think we're about 5 or 6 months in, love our product, love the early customers we're working with. I feel like we are keeping our eyes open in terms of being open to feedback, and we're going to kind of follow the waters to the pain. And then we're also, spinning up some new products too, to try to keep energy going. So it's definitely a fun, like the early days at Avid, Ali and I always talk about, they started out with a like real estate platform, and then their customers told them like, hey, this payable thing is actually our real pain point. Like, we'll pay you to fix this problem for us. And so they pivoted the whole company, and now, IPO unicorn, been around for 25 years. So we kind of have been listening to the stories of the companies that we've spent a lot of our career at too, as kind of like guides for, be super passionate about your first product, but kind of write everything in pencil until you get that validation from your customers that like, hey, this is a huge pain point. We don't have a great solution. And that's probably the signal that, okay, this could be a real business here.
It's brilliant. Yeah, I think you're doing exactly right then. I mean, coach startups, and I'm just going to say, like, listen to this video, watch this video, and also deal with it.
It is terrifying. It is terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know where the food's going to come, but we're going pro.
Well, I mean, one of my questions was like, maybe we mentioned your better half, but like, when you're an entrepreneur and as you've got family to provide for, a young one, like, what was, like, call it the conversation. What was that conversation like when you were discussing pursuing this with Varian in earnest? Like, I mean, I'm sure she's supportive of us, who she is, she's amazing, but like, what was that like? And knowing that this was a big, scary thing that was a guarantee.
I think, like, I look back at our marriage journey together. When we first moved to Charlotte, I had a job, Varian didn't have a job. We were like, we'll just go there, we'll figure it out. For 5 months, she was doing odds and ends. She nannied for a while, then she got into urban planning, did great work there. Now she's at Camp North End. So there's been a lot of times in both of our careers where you just kind of trust that, there's not a guarantee, you don't know what's going to happen, but you believe in that person, and you know that they're going to figure something out. So we've always just kind of tried to listen to our gut on that too, like timing, weighting the risk as well. It is crazy with like a young family, but it's also, like I was saying earlier, like it doesn't get easier when they're 15 or 16 and you got college running around the corner, or there's more kids in the picture. So I think for us this is a unique, like, especially Ali being available, us being passionate about this idea, been in corporate for a long time. I think just realizing that, you kind of reach a point in corporate where, it does get harder to move in different directions. You can kind of get pigeonholed. And also just the experience, right? Like, I've never worked at a company from the very beginning. Everywhere I had worked a lot was built for you. You're kind of set up for success, volume's coming in, you got a great bring in, you've got all these processes. So I was just really, I think with the conversation with Varian, it was, we know Ali, you know me, we're passionate about this. We're going to be realistic about it as well. We kind of knew what our runway was. And so it's like, you got a couple years to really do whatever you can to make this work. And then we can assess from that point. But in my mind, it was, we had been good at saving over the past several years, got enough of a buffer so we could take some risk without feeling like we had to jump back in. It's not an infinite runway, but I think for us it was, if it works, it's the best thing that I can see myself doing. If it kind of worked, it's the best experience that I think I could get. And if it didn't work at all and blew up in our face, then I'd be right back where I was. We could, try to pivot the career with where I started. So
you don't have the regret.
You don't have the regret of not knowing, what, have you ever tried it? Like, what did you learn from the beginning? So I think from a learning standpoint with Varian, it was, hey, let's just try this. We have a ton of confidence in the team. We can build fast. We know how to run a business. I think we had accumulated enough skills over the past 10 years where we felt like, we can really give it a go. So I think that's kind of the parameters that we put around the adventure was, let's give it a go, no regrets, like do everything that you can to make it work. Try to bootstrap it, and let's assess in a year how it's going. We've got a year lease, so for our office, so it's kind of like let's run fast and try to build a great product, and then assess in a year. Have fun.
I find it funny how certain people in your life just like it's like a force field either, or a gravitational pull rather. Like you're just drawn, and seems like that's how it was. Probably that's pretty cool. How you kept just skirting on the edge.
And it's, I mean, I'm like you. I have buddies in Charlotte that I've been around for years. Like I think I liked working with you. I like working with the businesses at camp even before A2, because it is cool to see people that went for it and started it. And I love watching you and Wiley and seeing all the turns over the years. So I think just also knowing that in Charlotte, I feel like you kind of got to be about it. It's a banking town, it's a corporate town. The entrepreneurial community exists, but it's not as large as it is in other cities. And so a part of it was like, people that I really admire have been out there doing it. Like I see you doing that. I see other buddies that have done that. Like that, I look at that and I'm like, okay, you can do that. So I think a part of it was also like, what kind of example do you want to be in a community? Like it's okay to take a risk. It's okay to try to build something, and people are watching you do that, and they may have the same, hopes or aspirations. Like, could we do something one day? And they'll look to you and say, if he did it, wasn't easy, bumps in the road, but they figured it out. So I think like, it's also just being a part of the city and wanting to build an entrepreneurial community, and how you kind of can inspire other people to do that. So you definitely inspired me to do this, and hoping people can look at A2, and we're trying to be public as we build on social media, and bring other people along with us.
How can people, it's a perfect segue, how can people like keep up with you and A2?
So we're doing a lot of our, we got a website, a2analytics.ai.
That's cool.
That's the thing. That's it. That's it. And then we try to post our journey a couple times a month on LinkedIn. So follow me on LinkedIn. We have our page, A2 Analytics. We're going to drop a cool release this week for a new kind of product that we've been building about a new domain. So we're going to do kind of a public launch of a small version of it to let people play with it. And then we're spinning up some social media accounts as well. I think we're going to be turning out some content, but that's too new to have the handles. So I would say LinkedIn's probably the best way to keep up with us.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to having you back on, tracking your progress, checking in. You're just an amazing human being. You inspire me. You're one of the most authentic, funny people. We didn't even touch on the whole fact that you do improv on the side. I don't know if you're still, that's putting on hold with the, oh, you said, okay, cool.
Yep.
But anyway, you're just a dynamic and interesting person. And I appreciate you taking time, man. It's been
Thanks, Eric. This was awesome, man. Appreciate you.
Love it, buddy.
You too.
All right. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
I'm Jake Knapp, and I'm the creator of the Design Sprint process. I'm the author of this book, Sprints, and I am here at the Wiley offices in Charlotte, North Carolina. This right here, if you were thinking about maybe doing a design sprint with Wiley, this is where you would be, at this table, probably, unless you do it at your office, which is totally an option, but right here in this space with a whiteboard, with a bunch of paper and pens. Basically, they're going to help you think through a big problem, get it started, and get a solution tested really rapidly. That's the whole idea with a design sprint. I'd highly recommend, if you're thinking about it, that you do give Wiley a chance to your project. I've worked with these folks a couple times, and they always exceed my expectations. I always do things a little bit better than I could have imagined ahead of time. They're also really nice. So don't tell them I told you that. I try to, keep it cool, but they're super nice people. Anyway, best of luck to you, and try to sprint.